Are you struggling to find love? Have you been in countless disastrous relationships? Are you wondering if it's ever going to happen for you? Watch this video to find powerful techniques to find your ideal life partner or your wife. I've been a law of attraction mentor and a life coach for over 15 years, and I've sat in front of hundreds of men just like you, showing them how to bring love into their lives. I've also sat in front of hundreds of women for 15 years, so I really know what women want and how to attract them. Now, I'm sure you've been on tons of dating sites, you've read all the research, you've read everything really. I'm sure you've tried absolutely everything out there. But have you ever thought about how your emotions and your feelings and your thoughts dictate what you're bringing into your life? Hey, I'm Jenny Del Reeve, and for the best law of attraction and relationship advice, subscribe to my channel and hit that bell to be notified when I post a new video every single Thursday. So recently a male client came to me because he'd been in one relationship after the other. He'd been divorced, he's got children, obviously from his first marriage, and he's been dating now for around about 5-6 years, and all of his dates are disastrous. He's been involved with several women who have been, in his words, completely crazy, insecure, really jealous, and he just wants to find a really satisfying relationship for the second part of his life. But he's wondering if it's ever going to happen, and he feels totally depressed. I've been working with him for around about a year now, and he is actually getting married in 2 months' time. He's met the love of his life, and I'm really passionate about sharing the techniques and the information that I use with him with you today. The very first thing I taught my client is that you have to let go of this idea that there's one single soulmate out there for you. There are literally thousands of soulmates for you, and like attracts like. So to bring into your life a woman who is easygoing, relaxed, this is what you want, guys, right? Okay, we all want somebody who hangs out at the top half of this emotional scale, borrowed with thanks by Esther Hicks. So look at this scale. We all want somebody who's regularly contented, optimistic, passionate about things, okay? Nobody wants to date with love, no disrespect to anybody, because I was there for many, many years, but nobody really wants to date long term somebody who is insecure, underconfident, fearful, having anxiety. Now, we're all human, so I'm not saying that we all hang out at the top part of that scale all the time, but guys, if you want to hang out with a female who is good fun and easy to be around, then you have to become that yourself first, because like attracts like, it's magnetics. Now, this client of mine really put me on the spot, and he said to me, Jenny, tell me, if you were not with Duncan, so that's my husband, we've been together for 15 years, if you were not with Duncan, what kind of man would you look for? And I said, it's really, really, really simple. I would look for a guy whose glass is half full, who is generally optimistic, not perfect, and knows how to tune themselves to the top half of the scale, knows how to feel good, knows how to see the brighter side of things, doesn't panic in a crisis. Now, there is a catch and a flaw to what I've just said, because that can sound like you need a really positive, good feeling person to hang out with so you can be happy forever. Okay, so you need your princess or your queen to come along, who's all sunny and bright, and then you'll be happy for the rest of your life. Well, that ain't gonna happen, I can tell you, because I've been in a relationship for 15 years. So I'm not saying you've got to find this perfect person. As I said, there's thousands, if not millions, of soulmates for us. But it's our job to regularly tune ourselves to the top half of the scale, to feeling good, to having better thoughts, to keep our focus on the best aspects of the person we're with. And it's the other person's job as well. That's why I gave my client that answer, that if you choose someone who generally and regularly does that, then they're not going to be dependent on you for their happiness, and you're not dependent on them for their happiness, and that is a successful relationship. So what is falling in love? Now, I really hope I don't upset anyone here. I was quite devastated the first time I heard this, actually. What is falling in love? Falling in love is focusing on someone's positive aspects, the things you like about them in that honeymoon period, that really cool, passionate, exciting, lovely honeymoon period, and feeling the powerful unconditional love of your own inner being. So when you focus on someone in a loving way, you actually feel the unconditional love within yourself. That's what falling in love is. That person isn't actually making you feel that way. And if you know that really important fact, you'll never be reliant on another person for your happiness again. You will feel happy and they will feel happy and you'll have happy moments together. And of course, at times in a relationship, you will uplift each other when the other's down. That goes without saying. But you will not be codependent on that person. So falling in love and that positive honeymoon initial period, however long that lasts, is when you're focusing on the best aspects of that person and you're not looking at the parts you don't like. Falling out of love with someone is when you've lived together for a while or you've known each other for a while and you've seen some things you don't necessarily like. And then you focus your mind on those things and then you decide, look at the emotional scale right now, that it's all their fault that you feel bad because they don't do this, this and this, and they do all these other things you don't like. So you go to blame on the emotional scale, or maybe even revenge. That's it, I'm gonna leave them. And you take yourself down the scale, you're unable to feel good, you're unable to focus on their positive aspects, and maybe the relationship eventually ends. That is the only reason ever relationships end. At this point, people will say things like, but what if someone's violent? That's a whole different, it's the same thing actually, but that's a whole different section, and I will make another video on that. Nobody should stay in a situation that's potentially extremely harming, but we do need to accept that we've attracted these experiences because of where we are on the scale. So someone in fear could easily attract someone who's a bully because the two match together. It's actually the same vibration, but that's for another time. Okay, so little story for you. When I first met my partner Duncan, unbeknownst to me, this was around about 15 years ago, he had written a list of traits of his ideal woman. And it's quite hilarious because I found them around about 7 years later and I was like, that is me. There were a couple of physical attributes I maybe won't share with you today in there, but they were mostly, he'd written down, I want somebody who knows how to make themselves feel good. I want somebody who's independent. I want somebody who constantly wants to better themselves. He meant in terms of their emotion and their vibration. He'd written down he actually wanted something who's a little bit feisty at times, and he meant by that, you know, passionate and full of life, and he got that. And there were times when we've been together when that definitely wasn't a positive aspect for him, by the way. He manifested, because he was high enough on that emotional scale, the things that he wanted. He himself was a vibrational match to those things to be able to bring them in via me. We had a really, really rocky start to our relationship for around about the first 2 years because we were both hanging out, if you look at the emotional scale right now, in a lot of insecurity and money and in a lot of insecurity about money and insecurity about ourselves and our business and all kinds of things. So we had quite a rocky patch, you know, for the first couple of years. But as soon as I started to get more into the law of attraction and understand that this was a vibrational game and it wasn't his job to make me money, it wasn't his job to, you know, look after me, it wasn't his job to make me happy on a daily basis, I started to write lists of positive aspects about the things I had always loved about him. And I started to write down that I loved the fact that he was, on the whole, not always, no one's perfect, a glass half full kind of guy. That I loved his attention to detail, that I loved his sense of humour, that I loved his nurturing and supportive side, and I knew he'd make a great father. And I would write maybe 5 to 10, sometimes 20 positive aspects about him on a daily basis. And what happened was, when I focused energetically on those things that I loved about him, I brought more of those towards me. And the things that I didn't like, I saw way less of on a daily basis, because this is all energy, guys. You know, if I just take this phone, yes, it's physical matter, but it is actually just energy, slowed down enough to be in physical form, but it's energy. And our thoughts and our feelings have energy. We're really just having a relationship with ourselves all day long. We're pulling out of people how we feel about them. So if we think someone is an energy-sucking vampire, pain in the neck nightmare, that's what we will get. They could never ever be anything else in our experience. So I'm all about the techniques. If you are in a relationship, I encourage you to write down the positive aspects daily if you can. It'll take you 5 minutes. Write down the things that you first loved about that person when you first met them, because those things are still there and you can still focus on them and you can bring back that love. If you're not in a relationship and you're looking to attract your ideal woman, write down positive aspects about yourself so that you go into these dating situations or any situation where you might meet somebody with a better view of yourself, with a higher vibration up the scale. Only write down things that you believe about yourself. Don't write down things that you do not believe. And if you really, a lot of people struggle. I've done this with clients and it's sometimes taken them an hour to come up with 1 to 2 things, but just keep going, because the more you practice these thoughts, the more these ideas will come to you. You might write down something like, I'm work in progress. You know, I think I'm a good person. I'm doing better and better with my physical body every day. If you've had past insecurity about your physical body, write down that you're doing better, whether you're having better thoughts, or maybe your eating or your training schedule is a little bit better than it ever used to be. Find anything. Think about things your mother loves about you. Think about things your friends love about you. Think about things past girlfriends have loved about you and write them down as long as they feel good. And if you do that on a daily basis, and if you do that before you go into a date, it will be life-changing. Try it and see. Okay, in the comment section below, I want to get to know you guys. Stick in a positive aspect about yourself that you believe. Go on, write it in now for me. I'd love to hear from you. Another little story for you. So my partner of 15 years and I recently got married about a month ago. And at the hen do, or bachelorette party, I think we call it in the US, my friend had interviewed my husband Duncan, and obviously they were asking me questions at the bachelorette party, the hen do. And one of the questions that came up was, what do you find really annoying about Jenny? So that's what they'd asked Duncan. Obviously they asked me the same question, and it was hilarious because Duncan and I in our relationship have tuned ourselves on a daily basis to the things we love about each other. They'd filmed Duncan in my office and they'd asked him this question, and there was literally a 5-minute pause of him scratching his head, going, that's a hard one. And he was really, really struggling to find anything negative to say about me. Now that's not because I'm perfect and I don't have negative traits. I have many, okay? I'm a human being. But it's because, like me, he on a daily basis writes down things he loves about me and thinks about things he loves about me. And I do the same. And of course, when they asked me the same question, I literally couldn't come up with anything. There were people at that party who thought I was just being polite, or I was just trying to make out we had this amazing relationship, because they couldn't fathom that there was somebody who literally couldn't find something to criticize, you know, about their partner. But I literally couldn't. And in the end, a lovely friend of mine was like, oh, just say this thing and just move this on. Like, this is getting boring. I'm going to sit here for hours while you guys come up with something. It really, really showed me that it's not about having this perfect person. There isn't that single one soulmate. Give that up. Give that up. It's about tuning yourself to the things you love about the person. And quite frankly, you could get on with anybody. You could have an incredible relationship with any human on this planet if you tune yourself. And guys say to me, but there are certain physical attributes I want and all this. It's fine. We all have preferences. Go for those. But far often as humans, we're way too invested over those. Often a man will give up, you know, a really phenomenal, good feeling, regularly on the top half of the scale person for somebody who is more easy on the eye. And I'll tell you now, an aesthetically pleasing person who is a royal pain in the ass and hangs out on the lower half of the scale will not work out well for you. Tune yourself to be someone who is glass half full and you'll manifest the same back. I absolutely loved hanging out with you today. I love sharing my passion. I want everybody on the planet to feel better, and I want them to bring in all the love into their lives. I want to see you married. I want to see you with the kids you want, if you want them. If you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, please check out my next videos on how to text a woman using the law of attraction, dating advice using the law of attraction, and what women actually want in a man using the law of attraction. Please hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with your friends if it was helpful, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you next time.